So I want to talk today in this very strange year of 2020 about how Jesus came to create a new people, a new community for you and me to be a part of, and that changes the way that we look at everybody. We can look at this by seeing the command that the angel gave to Joseph when he said to Joseph that Mary would give birth to a child. We saw this in Matthew. And that Joseph would give him the name Jesus. The name Jesus means God saves, or God helps, or God delivers. And there are two obvious questions that flow out of this name. One of them is, who is God saving in Jesus? And the other one is, what is Jesus saving them from? Now, the first question, who, everybody would have figured they knew the answer to. It would be God's people, and that would be Israel. But it's a very fascinating way that Matthew starts out his book. You may have read the opening verses. It's a genealogy. Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac the father of Jacob, Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, Judah the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar. Now here's where it starts to get very interesting. Ancient genealogies are kind of boring to us. They were fascinating to people in the ancient world. That's how they would tell their story. Those were their roots, and every name would mean something. Tim Keller writes that genealogies in the ancient world were something like what resumes are in our world, ways that you let people know that you're somebody. And like in our world, genealogies would often get padded in the ancient world. Herod the Great will omit certain people. You don't stick horse thieves in there or junkies. And then you throw in some people to make it more impressive. In this case, Matthew does some very unusual things to Jesus' resume. Normally, genealogies, particularly Hebrew genealogies, included only men. And of course, they wanted to include impressive ones. But here we see already Judah, the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar. He throws a woman in there. And he mentions that Judah was the father of both Perez and Zerah. Why does he do that? Well, they all knew the story. Tamar was a Canaanite woman. She had been mistreated by the family, and she had to resort to tricking Judah, her father-in-law, pretending to be a prostitute so that he slept with her. The family line could go on. And this is quite stunning. This was like, you think your family is dysfunctional. You got nothing on them. And Matthew says, I think I'll put her in the book. And then he goes on and talks about how Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Now, Rahab, you might remember, was a Jerichoite. She was in the city of Jericho, and her profession was she was a prostitute. And Matthew says, I think I'll put her in the book. And then he goes on to talk about Boaz, who was the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Now, Ruth was a Moabite. Moabites were so despised. This is back in Deuteronomy that it was said that no Moabite would be allowed to enter the temple unto the 10th generation. And Matthew says, I think I'll put her in the book. And then he goes on. Jesse was the father of King David. David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. Now, this is the fourth woman. Her name, of course, was Bathsheba, but Matthew doesn't refer to her by name. He says Uriah's wife, just to remind everybody that Bathsheba was married when David saw her, wanted her, took her, impregnated her, and abandoned her. Couldn't get Uriah to be unfaithful, and so he killed Uriah. And Matthew says, I think I'll put her in the book. I think I will remind everybody of that story. All of these people, wrong gender, wrong ethnicity. Bathsheba was a Hittite by marriage. Wrong moral story. What is Matthew doing? Well, he's saying, now this is the story of Jesus and his people is going to include those that you did not think would be included. Wrong gender, wrong character, wrong ethnicity. I thought they were them, but Matthew says, no, in Jesus, they're us. It's like to Jesus, he's the one person who does not divide the world up into them and us, which is the way of this world. That is the old way. For Jesus, it's like everybody is us. Everybody's welcome. God saves. You shall name him Jesus, because he will save his people. Who's his people? I thought his people was us. No, his people is us and them. We're all us now. He will save his people from what? Well, anybody reading Matthew's gospel would know. What Israel needed to be saved from was from Rome. There were 3 great captivities in the history of Israel. There was Egypt, and they were slaves, and Pharaoh was awful. They needed to be delivered from Egypt. That was the Exodus. And then there was Babylon. That was a great captivity. That was the exile. They need to be delivered from that. And then there was Rome. There was Caesar. Israel needs to be saved from Rome. They're waiting for a Messiah who will save them from Rome. But it does not say he will save his people from Rome, from them. It says he will save the people from their sins. Nobody saw that coming. Kind of like in our day, we're waiting for this vaccine. The good news is it looks like it's going to begin to roll out now. Imagine somebody were to say, good news, we have a vaccine and it's going to save you from greed and from lust. It's going to enable you to give away more of your money and to be more of a servant around the house and forgive people. No, that's not what we want a vaccine for. We want to be saved from COVID. Israel wanted to be saved from Rome. No, give his name Jesus, for he will save his people. It's them, not just us. And he will save us, not from them. We thought we needed to be saved from them, whoever them is. Whoever you tend to put in that category, who's ever difficult for you, whoever you want to discard, whoever you think God could not care about them. Wrong religion, wrong culture, wrong beliefs, wrong whatever. No, to Jesus, it's like he wants everybody to be us. And what he's saving us from isn't them. He's saving us from us, from our sin, from my greed, from my hatred, from my small-mindedness, from my judgmentalism, from my grudge nursing. So now, today, the phrase for you is this little phrase with Jesus. Now, everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Everybody is welcome with God. Whatever has gone on in your life, that sin is forgiven through Jesus. You are welcomed by God. And now what that means in turn is that everybody's to be welcome with you. So as you walk through your day, whoever you see, when you greet them, just pause and say, God, thank you for that person. Thank you that they too are one of us, one of the ones that you love, one of the ones for whom Jesus died. And ask God to help you send your joy and your love into them. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. I'll see you tomorrow.